So the Chicago Bears fan base, we have been a little dramatic as far as the coaching standpoint and the players' execution standpoint. I mean, yes, we are 0-2 to start off a season that we were really excited for. A lot of problems has arisen when we thought this was going to be a major leap season. But from a general manager rebuild standpoint, I had to personally remind myself how long it has taken teams like the Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, and so on to build championship rosters. It took years and years and years of piling up draft picks, not just one first-round pick. Darnell Wright is the only first-round pick to Ryan Poles' name, and so far, he's looking pretty good. The Bears will have two pretty high 2024 first-rounders waiting for the team, and it looks like the Panthers have extreme struggles as they are 0-2 as well. Bryce Young looks like a startled rookie who has no good wide receivers. So, if the Bears season continues in this trajectory, the Bears could have two top 10 picks in the upcoming draft. So, when you look at it from a season perspective, go ahead and click on my previous video where I talked about my concerns and the things that upset me as far as this current NFL season is going. But, and I know it's a tough ask, asking fans to be patient, but when the Bears brought in Ryan Poles, he said he is going to build this team through the draft. He mentioned how many ugly years he went in Kansas City when, way back in the day when they were missing playoffs. They just kept adding talent. They ended up getting Alex Smith, and then a few years later, they ended up getting Patrick Mahomes. So, this video is just a kind of mental reset to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that the Bears are not eternally doomed, even if things are ugly right now. If you watched the Carolina Panthers game last night, you would have high hopes that the Carolina Panthers are going to give the Bears a pretty high draft pick in the next draft. Bryce Young had a moment where he lined up behind the guard. Running back Miles Sanders had to push Bryce Young on the shoulder to get him to move over to the center. There was another part of the game where Bryce Young was in the pocket and a defender kind of tapped Bryce Young on his shoulder pads, and Bryce Young went down super easily. There's no way a quarterback should have fell to the ground just by being tapped on the shoulder. He looks so small. And to give Bryce Young credit, I think he is a talented quarterback. I think he has great pocket presence. I think he can throw the ball pretty well. He has a really nice arm. He's pretty intelligent. But when it comes to the NFL, all of that stuff can go out of the window if you don't have wide receivers who are getting wide open every play like in college. If you don't have an offensive line who can block for you all day long like in college. What happens with these young guys is they've only had it easy their entire lives. Yes, they've had to battle, they've had to win close games. Yes, they've had shootouts, but again, Bryce Young has had 5-star wide receivers around him his whole life. He's had 5-star linemen around him. So to come to the NFL, he looks completely rattled, and I just don't see the Panthers winning enough games to not give the Bears a top 10 pick. And if their season continues, again, it's only 2 games. There's 15 games left. This thing can completely turn around. For all we know, Bryce Young could snap out of nowhere and they could win a bunch of games. But so far, with the first two games of the season, and the fact that they don't have any good wide receivers, they look like the Panthers wide receiver core looks like the Bears wide receiver core last year before the Chase Claypool trade, and without a Darnell Mooney. Yeah, they have Adam Thielen, who arguably may be better than Mooney, but he definitely is up there in age. So I just don't think the Panthers are going to have a low pick. I think the Panthers are going to give the Chicago Bears a very high pick. So again, the Bears are off to a very ugly start to this season. There's lots of questions going on. Again, click on my previous video. I talked about it all, from the coaching standpoint to the Justin Fields standpoint. Do the Bears have their quarterback or not? Do the Bears have the right coach or not? Those are legitimate questions to be asked. But General Manager Ryan Poles is not out yet. He only has 2 drafts, which is still way too early to judge a general manager. Ryan Pace, Bears' previous general manager, he had 3 different coaches and 8 seasons before he was fired. So the very least Ryan Poles can get is 3 or 4 seasons, am I right? So he came in, he said he was going to build this team through the draft, and so far this team is only halfway built through the draft, and half of his draft picks are still rookies. So while we wait to see guys like Darnell Wright and Roshan Johnson and Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens, Tariq Stevenson, Noah Sewell, Tyler Scott, while all of those guys are still developing, they're rookies. You can't expect them to be stars within year 1 of the NFL. I think it's good enough that Darnell Wright is looking pretty good from day 1. But with all of these rookies still developing, it's still too early to put final judgment on Ryan Poles' final rebuild. This is only year 2 of a 3 to 4 year rebuild. When you look at the Eagles, they picked year after year after year and continuously built that defensive line and offensive line. They've had endless first round picks used on the defensive line and the offensive line. So far, we only have 1 first round pick on either side of the ball on the lines. Yes, Justin Fields was a first round pick by Ryan Pace. Yes, Tremaine Edmonds was a first round pick by the Buffalo Bills. Outside of that, the Bears do not have first round talent on the team. And I mean, believe it or not, that's what you need to build a championship team, is plenty of years worth of building up premium talent. This video is not me convincing you guys that this season is going okay. This is not me trying to convince you guys not to be upset. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that things aren't ugly. I'm also not gonna pretend that Ryan Poles has been perfect. I think his first mistake was the coaching staff that he hired. He has made mistakes like trading the 2nd round pick for Chase Claypool, albeit Chase Claypool had a better game last week. He had that touchdown catch. He had a little bit better effort blocking, but I just don't think his value was a 2nd rounder. So that's something that Ryan Poles had to learn from. He had the botched deal with Larry Ogunjobi with the failed physical. I mean, you can criticize him for not drafting a center, but we haven't seen Tariq Stevenson develop yet. He's only played 2 games. So what if he turns into a really good corner over time? You know, you can pick and choose and say, oh, he should have drafted him. He should have drafted Jalen Carter. He should have drafted George Pickens, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, anybody can sit back and be a couch GM. Jalen Carter clearly had legal issues going on. It's not like he was the most perfect prospect in the world. 8 other teams passed him on. It wasn't just the Chicago Bears. Maybe he becomes a superstar and it stings the Bears, but again, Darnell Wright is still looking good, and we can play this game with a lot of people. Tyreek Hill fell to the 5th round because of character issues and is potentially a Hall of Fame wide receiver. So I'm just saying with this video that all hope is not lost for the Chicago Bears organization. Lots of people are calling for firings all across the board. I don't think Ryan Poles is on the hot seat. I think he is still just at the beginning of his rebuild. He has certain mistakes, but he can right them in this upcoming offseason, and the Bears have plenty of resources to continue to build to this roster. So that's it for this video. If you haven't watched my previous one, click on that, because that's where you're going to find a lot harsher criticism on what's going on with this current team as far as coaching goes and quarterback play goes. If you haven't already subscribed to stay updated, I'm trying to bring you guys videos as often as I possibly can. Drop a like, drop a comment, let me know how you guys are feeling. Did you guys watch the Panthers game? What do you think that Panthers pick is going to turn out to be? Do you think the Bears will be picking top 10 there, top 5 potentially, top 3 potentially? Let me know what you guys think, and click on one of my previous videos and I'll see y'all there.